It is absolutely freezing in the United States. Steph, you've got a bit more on that for us this morning.
Yes, I certainly do. You might have seen some of those incredible pictures coming out of the United States where a winter snowstorm has blanketed much of the country. And to tell us more, meteorologist Matthew Cappucci joins us now from Washington. Matthew, thank you so much for coming on News Breakfast.
Yeah, most definitely. Good to be here.
Well, I hope that you are staying warm, but just give us an idea of the significance of this particular storm, because after all, it is winter in the US.
It is. It's definitely wintertime, but I got to say, this storm almost overachieved really across the country. It looks nice outside. We're just beginning to dig out after an exceptional amount of snow here in D.C., our worst snowstorm since 2022. But across the country, this storm trekked 2,200 kilometers from Kansas and the Great Plains all the way to the eastern seaboard. And every state in the storm's path saw at least 10 inches, 22.5 centimeters worth of snowfall. And realistically, in addition to that, they saw significant icing as well, freezing rain, and even thunder snow and thunder sleet. So pretty much the worst wintry weather you can imagine. And now there's a second winter storm on the way.
Oh, goodness. So it doesn't stop. And this one has been deadly, I understand.
Yeah, I think one of the big issues has been car accidents with this. So often, even if people are used to driving in the snow, they're not really used to driving in the freezing rain. And one of the big issues with this system is that it had something called a warm nose. Basically, at the mid-levels, it drew north warmth and moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. Now, that moisture is why we saw so much snow, sleet, and freezing rain. But the warmth allowed precipitation to melt on the way down, come down as rain, and then in many cases refreeze on the ground, basically transforming the landscape into a skating rink. And that's why the liquid was able to wash away any pre-treatment in the roadways, so the crews couldn't get ahead of the storm. They couldn't really treat the roads in advance. Then the roads turned into ice rinks, and unfortunately, we've seen a number of fatalities from car accidents and casualties from that.
And you just spoke about why we're seeing so much snow, but can you just explain why it's been such extreme temperatures as well, in terms of, I understand that it's a icy polar vortex or similar?
Yeah, so the polar vortex is actually present year-round in the atmosphere. It's like this big whirlpool of cold that sits up over the Arctic. When the polar vortex is strong, it kind of stays all self-contained and doesn't really bother anyone. It stays way up there in the north. But when something happens to disrupt the polar vortex, or it's a little bit weaker, it's like it releases some of those lobes of cold air which descend down to the mid-latitudes over North America. Now, we can connect the polar vortex to something called the Arctic Oscillation, which sounds like a big word. Basically, the Arctic Oscillation just says how bottled up is the polar vortex, the cold air. When the Arctic Oscillation goes negative, that means the polar vortex is releasing that cold to the mid-latitudes. We have the most negative Arctic Oscillation we've had all winter long, which basically means we're spilling more of that cold air south than we have any time this winter. So it will be a cold and stormy pattern for at least a few more weeks to come.
So rug up then, and obviously too many people are getting out and about and just enjoying what the best of the snow has to offer.
Yeah, I got to say, here in D.C., like we said, it's the biggest snowstorm we've had in 3 years. Of course, everyone else doesn't have to work the snow day, but being a meteorologist, I have to. But in any case, I definitely enjoyed going out, making a few snow angels. This nostalgia of childhood, it's been nice to see. And I think a lot of other people have enjoyed at least a day off and time in the snow as well.
Yeah, and it's not just the humans either, is it?
From what I understand, they've had the panda at the National Zoo who's been loving it. I know that pandas are originally from Chengdu, China. There's a very cool nature sanctuary there, which I've been to before. And actually, last time I went back, in I think 2018, it snowed where the pandas, live in China. And so here in the U.S., we've had that panda happy at the National Zoo, enjoying the snow. And so I'm not surprised that folks and animals of all species are enjoying it.